Ladies and gentlemen, you ever watch someone throw something with all their might, thinking it's aimed perfectly, only to have it curve back around and strike them in the back? That's how God handles betrayal. See, when people set you up, when they whisper behind your back and plot your fall like it's some kind of sport, they think they're operating in secret, but what they don't know is that they're performing on God's stage. Every word, every fake smile, every lie recorded. They think they're crafting your ending, when in reality, they're just writing the first page of their own downfall. Betrayal is never random. It's targeted, personal. It comes from people who had access, who held your trust in their hands and shattered it like glass. But when you're chosen, when you carry purpose, God doesn't let betrayal break you. He lets it build the ark of your comeback. They thought they were building your coffin, but God was building your character, and in the process, they revealed themselves. That's the twist. The betrayal didn't change you, it exposed them. Now here's where it gets divine. The very trap they set, the same pit they dug, becomes the place they fall into. You didn't have to push them, you didn't have to clap back, you didn't even have to raise your voice. All you had to do was keep walking, and while you walked, God was loading the boomerang. The law of sowing and reaping isn't superstition, it's spiritual reality. They sowed deception, manipulation, cruelty, and shame. And the harvest, it comes back multiplied, not just in the same measure they dished out, but with divine precision, tailored to pierce the very pride they wore when they did you wrong. God doesn't need your help to set the record straight. He lets the same weapon they formed return to sender, and while they stumble, choking on the consequences, you stand. Scarred maybe, but still standing. That's the part that makes them nervous. That's what makes the boomerang so powerful. Because it doesn't just return, it returns while you rise. They thought their betrayal would bury you, that it would silence you, erase you. Instead, it became the evidence of God's hand on your life. God lets betrayal happen sometimes not to hurt you, but to highlight who you are to Him. He lets them touch you, but only so He can show them they can't keep you. And when they realize that the very weapon they crafted to destroy you has become the weight that drags them down, they finally understand you weren't the target. They were. Because when you betray someone covered by God, you don't just attack them. You challenge the one who called them. That's why the betrayal boomerangs. Because what they tried to break, God decided to bless. What they tried to humiliate, God chose to elevate. And the very thing they hoped would make you beg is what made you bold. Scars don't lie. They don't pretend. They don't cover up the pain or rewrite the past. They tell it. Loudly, silently. A scar says, I've been through it, but I'm still here. And in a world that worships appearances, where people mask their damage behind filters and fakeness, a scar becomes the most honest thing on you. It's not weakness. It's witness. It proves you survived what was sent to break you. See, when you carry scars, you carry stories, not of defeat, but of endurance, of nights you didn't think you'd make it, of betrayal that cut so deep you forgot how to breathe, of voices that told you it was over, that you were finished, forgotten. But here you are, not because you were perfect, not because you were the strongest, but because grace refused to let go of you. Your scars are not stains, they are signs, road signs of where you've been, and proof of who walked with you through the fire. People will try to shame you for your scars, try to make you hide them, minimize them, cover them up like they make you less worthy. But what they don't understand is that your scars are your credentials. They say you've endured, that you've faced hell and didn't come out empty-handed. You came out wiser, you came out with power, you came out with perspective. There are things you know now that only pain could teach. And that knowledge, that grit, that's what separates you. The ones who did you wrong, who tried to tear you down, they don't expect you to wear those scars with pride. They expect you to shrink. They expect you to carry shame. But every time you stand, speak, move, and breathe in spite of what happened, your very existence convicts them. It reminds them that their cruelty didn't win, that the plan failed, that you were stronger than they thought, more chosen than they realized. God doesn't waste pain. He turns wounds into wisdom. He turns your low points into launch pads, and the scars left behind, those are the blueprints for somebody else's survival. Someone who's going through what you went through needs to see that scar. needs to know that healing is possible, that restoration is real, that broken things can still be used. That's why God let the scar stay, not to torment you, but to testify through you. So when you look at yourself and see the places where you've been torn, don't flinch. Don't mourn the skin that used to be smooth. That old skin didn't know war. That old skin didn't know survival. The skin you have now, the one with the marks and the stories, that skin knows victory. That skin knows God. That skin knows how to rise after the hit. Divine justice doesn't move on your timing, but it never misses its mark. People often mistake silence for absence, thinking that just because God didn't strike lightning the moment they acted foul, that he's okay with it. But God's justice is not rushed. It's calculated, it waits, it watches. It lets the full weight of the act build until the correction fits not just the offense, but the intention behind it. You see, people will wrong you with full confidence because they believe they're untouchable, above consequence. But they forget, he who sees the heart sees everything. The lies they told, the setups they orchestrated, the way they smiled in your face while stabbing your back. None of it went unnoticed. You didn't clap back. You didn't plot revenge. You cried. You questioned. You bled internally while the world thought you were fine. And in that quiet, in that stillness, justice was being written. You thought God was being too quiet, too patient. But patience is a weapon in the hands of a righteous judge. Because when he moves, he doesn't just fix the situation. He exposes the source. He doesn't just repay you with healing. He reveals the truth. That's how divine justice works. It flips the lights on in a room people thought would stay dark. It pulls the mask off people who performed loyalty but rehearsed betrayal. It opens mouths that swore they'd stay shut and causes the very ones who cheered for your fall to be forced to acknowledge your rise. And the best part, you didn't have to manipulate anything. You didn't twist a story. You didn't play dirty. You just endured. You just kept walking with swollen feet and a heavy heart, and God took notes. He takes every tear seriously, every insult, every betrayal, every bit of mockery spoken over your name, and not just from enemies. Sometimes from the ones closest to you, the ones who said they'd never switch up. Divine justice takes betrayal personally, because when someone touches you, they're not just touching you. They're touching the assignment on your life, the calling over your journey, and God defends his investments. That's why when the time comes, it's undeniable. It doesn't look like karma. It doesn't look like coincidence. It looks like correction. It looks like doors closing that they thought would stay open. It looks like exposure when they least expect it. It looks like tables turning in front of the very people who tried to pull the chair out from under you. And it looks like peace showing up in your life at the very moment they expected chaos. Divine justice doesn't make noise when it enters. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need a crowd. It just arrives sharp, precise, and final. And when it shows up, it leaves no confusion about who sent it. Because you may have stayed quiet, but heaven wasn't. You may have turned the other cheek, but God didn't turn a blind eye. Cruelty isn't just action, it's intention. It's the coldness behind the smile, the deliberate way someone targets your softness, your trust, your hope, and tries to destroy it piece by piece. And when someone serves you cruelty like it's a 5-course meal, they think they're feeding you defeat. They think you'll chew on that pain forever, swallowing shame, bitterness, silence. But what they never see coming is that the very poison they plated for you becomes their own portion. There's a difference between pain that happens and pain that's designed. When someone crafts your suffering, chooses it, delivers it with pleasure and power, it doesn't just hurt, it haunts, and they think they've gotten away with it. They think your quiet is weakness, your endurance is permission. But the God you serve is not a God who forgets. He doesn't ignore cruelty, he watches it, he stores it, and when the time is right, he delivers it back. Not out of hate, but out of holy justice. They mocked you, maybe not in public, but in their hearts. They celebrated your setbacks, they twisted facts and spoke your name with disrespect when you weren't around to defend yourself. They used your loyalty against you, knowing you wouldn't fight dirty. They mistook your goodness for gullibility, but what they forgot is that God weighs hearts. He measures intentions, and cruelty never slides past his scales unnoticed. Now they're gasping on the very thing they served. Confused, restless, watching blessings hit your life like waves and wondering why their world feels like it's closing in. That's what happens when cruelty returns to sender. You see, God doesn't let people touch his children and walk away unchanged. He doesn't let folks drop stones at your feet and expect to keep clean hands. He doesn't let someone slice open your peace and keep theirs intact. And here's the part they never imagined. The pain they handed you became fuel. It shaped you, sharpened you. What they thought would kill you actually refined you. And while they were laughing, you were growing. While they were plotting, you were preparing. While they were throwing shade, God was planting seeds. So now they sit in discomfort, not because you cursed them, but because they cursed themselves by touching what God had marked for glory. They thought they could walk through life handing out cruelty like candy and never have to taste it themselves. But life doesn't work that way when God is involved. Every act has a harvest. Every seed comes with a season. And when you plant bitterness, betrayal, and pride, don't be surprised when the harvest tastes bitter too. They served cruelty expecting power, but now they're choking on it because God flipped the plate around.